Hello, welcome. This is Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, and of course, Rage is with me. This week, I sent our podcast to a couple of people, and one guy text messaged me back and said, the guy's name is Rage. And I said, I said, yep. I said, that's his name. I said, he is Rage. And so, anyhow, good to be here. I am excited. I think that we've got a very cool discussion topic tonight. I think it'll be something that if you'll listen with an open mind, I think you might see that maybe you're a little bit open to our point of view. That's what we hope. But, nonetheless, I expect us to have a good conversation. But before we get to that, the show today, Jay, we're going to talk about the quarterbacks. Of course, you know this. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks for just a few minutes, and then we're going to move on to answering that question that is the title.
Everybody really wants to know. Yes.
Yeah. So we are going to spend a few minutes talking about what we're hearing out of camp. But before we do that, Jay, how are you doing today?
Michael, I'm doing well, man. A lot of big and good changes in my life. Can't complain there. I will say my neck is really, really, really sore today. I had a tough round of grappling yesterday. There were a few people there. There's this new guy at my gym, man. One of those guys who was like a former MMA fighter and stuff, and he's out to like prove himself. But he's like 40 years old. But he's one of those guys that's like 170 pounds, but he's really shredded, really strong, very cocky. You know,
he's 170 pounds. If he's 170 pounds and a former MMA fighter, he's going to be a lot to deal with.
I don't know if he was an actual fighter. I know he trained in MMA. I don't know if he actually got in the ring. It's been
gotcha. Okay,
yeah. But I mean, he says he has a background in a lot of striking and stuff. I didn't strike.
Is he good? Is he a good grappler?
It's hard for me to quantify, man. I mean, I'm an okay grappler and stuff. I can hold my own. I mean, I'm essentially
Can he beat you?
No, he didn't beat me, but we were stalemating each other, though. I will say that. Like, he's so strong that he was slamming people in there. His wrestling is not bad. I wouldn't say it's better than mine, but he definitely has some, like, wrestling in his arsenal. And he's so strong that it's like you can't Greco with him, like, really. Like, it's kind of – I'm not saying it's suicide, but you better be aware that, you can't let his hips get in on you or else you're going to go for a ride. So, anywho, he kind of locked me up in, like, a headlock yesterday, man. It was just squeezing me. So hard. He didn't have the choke on, and he was just collapsing my neck, and eventually he was turning my neck in an awkward way. It's like, shoot, man, I could have my neck broken here. But he's a very, very rough individual.
Well, as much as that sucks, when you face somebody like that, it makes you grow because it identifies weak spots in your game, and it kind of forces you to address those, and you're like, and it sucks, and it's not comfortable, but that's the long, painful process of getting better at jiu-jitsu and grappling.
That's going for sure, man. Kind of that is for sure. So, just a really, really tough guy. He's a nice guy. I mean, I think he's a nice guy. I don't know. Could be wrong, but he's very, very rough. Very, very, very rough dude. That's it, sir. But let's get into the first topic. Lead us off.
Yeah, I was just going to say before that, one of these days in the off season, we are going to do a little bit of MMA jiu-jitsu discussion. So I look forward to that. But there is plenty to talk about until then. And so we're going to kick it off today talking about the quarterback rumblings coming out of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And I am just gathering this from known sources. This isn't any type of inside information, but all I'm doing is kind of like coalescing a bunch of the different sources together and you're just kind of sharing them with you guys. And so maybe you guys haven't had time to listen to all of these. In my job, when I'm not meeting with people and talking with people, I'm able to kind of listen to podcasts. While I'm doing certain things at my computer, I'm able to listen to podcasts. And so I listen to a lot throughout the day. And so, Jay, what is being said across multiple sources? And so on one hand, you could say, well, maybe there's nothing to it. But on the other hand, it's some of the people that are saying this, I tend to think maybe are being honest and genuine about it. And what is being said is that Devin Brown has really added a spark to this team, and that everything just has a different vibe, that he just has something that Kyle wasn't able to bring, and that the team is excited. And if that's the case, it's really making me look forward to this Cotton Bowl much more than I was a few weeks ago. I mean, going to watch Kyle McCord play again, no, thank you. And that's why he's going to Nebraska or somewhere, Illinois or Rutgers or something like that, because that's the level quarterback he is. And so, nothing against Kyle, but he was a very, very unexciting quarterback. And so if Devin really is adding a little juice, man, that adds a whole different element to this Cotton Bowl, don't you think?
Well, we'll see. I have heard what exactly you're talking about. I was listening to the players talk. I've heard people say that he has like more of a scrambling element, and I have no doubt that the guy is a charismatic individual. He seems to have much more of a personality than Kyle. Like, I'm not saying a cockiness, but a confidence. And you hear it in his interviews, and then you hear like the players and stuff speak on his behalf. I really do believe all of the players really like him as a person and everything. But excitement by the players is one thing, like for his personality, but are they really excited about his play? Because Michael, I personally don't see it, bro. I don't see the excitement for Devin Brown. Like, not from what I've seen. I mean, do you want to elaborate on that first? Or do you want me to go in?
Well, since I'm on the positive side of it, I'll go in, and then you can give your opinion. I feel like that if he got such little time, and under the circumstances of that time, for me, it's very hard to make a judgment. But there are some things that I liked that I saw. I liked that he's not scared. I'll just tell you some of the things I saw in Devin Brown in the very, very small sample size. Is he's not scared. Like, he'll step up and he'll rip it. He wasn't always accurate in what in what we saw, the small sample size we saw. There were some inaccuracies, but there were some things I saw that I liked a whole lot too, like a little wheel pass that he threw, I think, to Trey. It was a very nice little touch pass. And so, did it need more polish? Yes. Does it probably still need more polish? Yes. But here's the thing. Cardale Jones brought such and it wasn't just Cardale Jones, it was the whole offense kind of coalescing together. But point being, he brought such an electricity at the end of that 2014 season that he turned the ball over a decent amount, and it didn't matter because the team was clicking at such a high level. And I'm not saying don't care about turnovers, but I'm just saying when you have a guy that kind of lets it hang and lets it rip, it has this tendency to create big plays and give you a bigger, a little more room for error, a little more margin for error. So I think we could see that, maybe in a little bit more of a raw form, but I think that there's a possibility that we could see that, in the Cotton Bowl against Missouri.
Well, I hope you are correct. And I know there are rumors out there that Kyle's dad has stepped in and, wanted his son to transfer when Ryan Day couldn't commit to him starting and this, that, and the other. But I truly do believe there was a quarterback competition in the offseason. And I think Kyle McCord did win it because everything that I've seen from Devin Brown, like I just said, I do not see it. That's not to say that in this month's worth of practice, he can improve. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're only so fast. Your accuracy is only going to be, that's going to take more time than just a month. Like, you can improve accuracy wise. And I don't know really much about his arm strength. We didn't really see it like that. But I can tell you this. He just didn't impress me in the little time he's played. And let's not try and say he got little time during the season either. Our sample size is not small. He played half of the game versus Youngstown State. and Kyle McCord doubled Brown's stats in that game. He appears to throw a nice, maybe a nice deep ball to the one he had Brandon Innes, but then he like completely misses sometimes. He's supposedly mobile and can run, but let's be real. He looks slow as dirt when he does run. He couldn't get the angle on a Youngstown State linebacker in the game. Remember that? He was trying to hit the edge, and the YSU linebacker hawked him down pretty quick. And then, and it turned out that Youngstown State lost in the first round of the SEF playoffs, by the way. So let's all hope there has been major improvement in at least being able to run the offense during bowl practice. But he's going to need more time than just that to get to the level of Ohio State having a national championship type offense. I don't think Missouri's defense is all that great. So maybe he can illustrate and do, in that game that he's improved better. But I don't know. Missouri's defense is not as good as Michigan's, not even close, in my opinion. I think they're solid and they're going to be an aggressive defense, but they're not as good as Michigan. So I don't know, man. I'm not saying I'm excited for them at all. I'm more like wait and see. I'm hopeful, but the evidence leads me so far. I have really nothing to look forward to other than like what he's shown, which is not much.
Well, I can see your points on most of those. The one thing that I would just not agree with is that I still see this as a very small sample size. He threw the ball 22 times this season. And that 22 times was spread out over like a few different games too. It wasn't like that was like, he got to play a game and went 12 for 22. So, I'm going to be interested to see, when he, or, how he looks when he's able to start the game, settle into the game, play the whole game. And, the other thing is, I think on the accuracy, there can be an improvement if you're out there and you're kind of a nervous wreck. And again, I'm giving him a benefit of the doubt, and he gets a chance to prove whether there's something to that or whether he's just an inaccurate passer. But, when you're in a quarterback competition and you're going to get limited reps and like this is your shot, like, this is your series, you can press and kind of make, maybe make some decisions or make some plays that are not necessarily characteristic of how you would play, if you were getting more of a chance. So there's been plenty of times that the better guy set the bench. And so I truly believe this is one of those times. I really do. I believe Devin Brown is better than Kyle McCord. And I think he's going to show it against Missouri.
I hope so. I hope so. It would generate some excitement for next season. That's all I can say about that. So I hope so, man. I'm still in the wait and see mode, man, and I'm a little pessimistic on it because I just don't see quite the talent level there. But maybe they'll prove me wrong.
If he falters next year, then fine. It's time for Keenholz to shine. Because I'm very high on Keenholz. I'm definitely higher on Keenholz than I am on Brown. But I do think,
absolutely.
I do think Brown. I really do think Brown can be good. I do. Can he be great? I don't know, but I think he can be good. I think he can definitely be a step above Kyle McCord. And so time will tell. But speaking of, there's a lot on the line, Jay, as far as the forward direction of the Ohio State program. It's kind of really at a crossroads, and it's felt a little bit like it's been at this crossroads for a couple of off seasons now, but it's like this one really feels like it is kind of at a tipping point. Like Ohio State has to take that step forward that it hasn't been able to take in a long time and win a national championship, or it feels difficult for the train to just kind of keep running at always in the mix, but never really getting there. That's a hard place to stay year in and year out. It's like at some point there has to just be a purge when that is it just kind of becomes a stagnant place. And so I do think the Ohio State program is a little bit in danger of being stagnant right now. But there's a question that I have seen several times on Michigan on message boards from Michigan fans, obviously not from Ohio State fans, and the claim is that our Michigan friends are, some of them, not all of them, but there is, I've seen this several times now, that Michigan broke the Ohio State program and that the program is now broken. And so we're going to discuss that, and we're going to see, is this literally just a ridiculous, smack talking claim on social media, or is there any merit to it based on our analysis and our opinions? So let's get into it, Jay. How would you even begin answering that question? Where would you start to build your case one way or the other for what's going on in the Ohio State program and whether a third straight loss to Michigan did indeed break it or damage it significantly?
Well, as we start out that subject, and as we know, in the state of the program, Ohio State has lost 3 in a row to Michigan. Each time Michigan has been in the top 5, Ryan Day, all he does is lose against teams in the top 5. He beat Clemson in 2020, and I personally do give him the top 5 against Notre Dame in 2022. They were top 5 at the time. And
you're being
a lot of
so
people,
generous with that.
I am being very generous there. And you know me, I don't really particularly like Ryan Day. I don't think he's a very good coach. But I will give him that one. But I mean, let's just think about this here. Like, what news has really come out of Ohio State land in the last couple of weeks post Michigan loss? I mean, I understand right now that players are opting into this bowl game in the Cotton Bowl against Missouri.
Yeah.
But I personally wouldn't say that does not mean there's a cultural problem. So during their interviews, they definitely, all of the players, and I was trying to listen to a bevy of them. They definitely make it sound like.
So hold on 1 second. Make your case to me, because to me it seems like it's a positive move that these guys are opting back in. It seems like it's a good sign for the program. So make your case to me how that maybe doesn't actually tell us that there's not some issues going on. Make that case for me.
So they definitely make it sound like they are using this game to boost their draft stock, if possible, versus wanting to win for Ryan Day and Ohio State. That's the way I'm taking this, by their words. I don't see Marvin Harrison, Tui Malau, or Travion Henderson commenting yet on if they're playing. Let's be real. Last season, Alabama had 2 top 5 picks, one in Will Anderson, another in Bryce Young, opt into their bowl game. I don't see that happening here. Where's Marvin Harrison saying, like, oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to win this game for Ryan Day? I haven't seen that. Have you seen anything about Marvin Harrison saying he's going to play in this game?
No.
Because at this point, I don't think he's going to.
Marvin Harrison will not play in the game, and Marvin Harrison is not coming back to Ohio State. Marvin Harrison has played his last game at Ohio State. In fact, I'm going to go buy, I bought some and I've been eating them. There's some Grippo chips. Are you familiar with Grippos, Jay?
Never heard of it. What the hell is that? Never heard of them. Look,
it's more of a central to southern Ohio thing. It's not as much in northern Ohio, but it's a chip brand called Grippos, and Marvin is on the chip bag. And so I bought some of the other night, and I've actually eaten those, but I need to go back to the store. I'm going to buy a few packs and just kind of put them back as the Marvin chips, just kind of as a remembrance of his time at Ohio State, because we're not ever seeing him again. He's gone. He's not staying. He's out. So yes, Marvin's gone.
No, I don't deny that he's gone, but my point is he's not going to play in the bowl game either.
No.
So it's like, and I don't see Tui Malau commenting. Travion has said he's like 50-50 coming back or whatever, but he hasn't said he's even playing in the bowl game. Like our superstar players haven't really committed to this game. And if Marvin Harrison was committing to playing in this game, I would say okay, I don't think Michigan has quite broke Ohio State, But like right now, these guys, the way they comment, they're definitely in it for themselves. Like, let's
Mhm.
not act like they're being noble by playing in this bowl game for Ryan Day or Ohio State. They're doing it to boost their draft stock because they didn't. None of them really had all that great of seasons, man. That's really it, and that's fine. I'm great. I want to win. I want to win this game
Yeah,
because if
right.
Ohio State loses this game, now we're like really sitting on a really a lame duck coach and Ryan Day, and it's basically we're just waiting for him to be fired by the next athletic director because we know
Yeah,
Gene Smith's not going to do anything.
I will say this: there's a lot of positive signs for the Ohio State football team. You know, I feel like there's a freshness in the quarterback room. I feel like Kyle McCord leaving was like such a load off of this program, and I hate to keep kind of dumping on him, but he really was. It's like he was just a weight around the program. You know, and I feel like there's a freshness in the quarterback room. I feel like you know, there is still, you know, very good talent coming in, number 2 class right now. I don't think that's indicative of a program that's broken, but all of those things being true doesn't mean that it's not a program in a vulnerable place. That there is some vulnerability to the program right now. So, what were you going to say? I saw you making faces.
Well, you just mentioned recruiting.
Mhm.
Number one, Larry Johnson has become a lame duck coach. Recruiting on the defensive line is an absolute failure. Development is not good. Where are the big time guys in the transfer portal? They didn't go get Jared Verse a couple of years ago. So now news is coming out that Amaris Williams was an Ohio State lean for a while there. Amaris Williams here in Clinton, North Carolina, about 2.5 hours east of me. He's
Yeah,
probably going to go to Auburn now. He was favored to go to Ohio State. Now he's going to go to Auburn. The best edge rusher in the transfer portal is Trey Moore from UT San Antonio. Have you heard of him?
yep.
He was supposed to visit Ohio State this weekend, but he's no longer visiting. And supposedly he's no longer visiting is because he wouldn't fit an Ohio State scheme.
That's crap.
What in the fucking hell is that garbage?
Yeah,
What in the
that's crap.
hell is that? Like, our pass rush is terrible. We don't get any pressure. They don't create any negative plays. This is a guy that I think he was Conference USA Player of the Year or whatever on the defensive side. That is a player that could come in and make a difference. Find a place for him to play and just put him there. What are you talking about? He doesn't fit in our scheme. And Knowles is making like stupid comments like, oh, you know, I don't care about sacks or whatever. Oh, okay. Well, Michigan's glad to hear that. Penn State's glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Georgia's glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's terrible,
Everyone's
man.
glad to hear that Ohio State defensive line does not sack the quarterback because that makes life a lot easier to play offense.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't get people behind schedule. And here's my other thing. It's just like, why is he being kept around? Why is Larry Johnson being kept around? Why? I understand he's done a lot of good in the past, but he's not doing good right now. Not in the last couple of years. There's no reason to keep him now. I gave him a pass on the 2023 recruiting class because he whiffed on Mateo, Damon Wilson, and who was the third guy? Keon Keeley from IMG. Whiffed on all three. And I gave him a pass because he had an amazing 2021 recruiting class and a very, very, very good 2022 class. But after this disastrous 2024 class, because it's looking that way, there's he needs to be fired. He needs to be fired. He sucks. But at this point, I blame Ryan Day more, Michael. I personally blame Ryan Day more. Ryan Day does not have the balls to fire inept coaches because he also doesn't have the cachet to hire elite coaches to replace him. So he gets stuck. So that's my opinion on it.
Well, I would say this, that is one of the stress points in the program right now. That is one of the vulnerabilities is the coaching staff. You know, and just because you're vulnerable doesn't mean that you're going to break. So, you know, I think that we need to get that clear with our Michigan friends that there may be some vulnerability, but the program is not, I don't believe, broken. But I think that you are hitting on some of those stress points that could lead to you know, further hemorrhaging or maybe some serious damage to the program is there needs to be a refreshing of this coaching staff. And I know that doesn't usually happen, Jay, until after the bowl game. So I'm not going to get too, on to Ryan Day yet, because he still has plenty of time to make some moves. But I'm not going to feel like a whole lot has been accomplished if at the very least, if Fleming is not gone, and if Corey Dennis is not asked to go find another place and his contract not renewed, because his contract is up. So don't renew his contract. His father-in-law is Urban Meyer. He'll be able to find somewhere else to go. And maybe Ryan Day can help him to go somewhere else. Maybe he can go out to UCLA with Chip Kelly. No players seem to want to stay out there. So maybe he might be willing to entertain a young coach to come help him. But if those things don't happen, then I think the coaching staff is going to continue to limit whatever talent is on the field. And as far as Larry Johnson, I agree. It is time for him to go. Love Larry. He was a great contributor to the Buckeye program for several years. Really top-notch coach at one time, but his time has come and gone. It's clear, and he needs to do the right thing, and he needs to just tell Ryan Day that he's going to retire, or Ryan Day needs to retire him and just say, Larry, we love you, we honor you, we so appreciate everything you've done, but everything right now is hanging on these next couple of years for me, and the line play just hasn't been how we need it, and the line recruiting hasn't been how we need it, and I've just got to go a different direction. And then you go through the whole thing. You tell them that you get to release to the press that it's his idea, and he's retiring and all of that, and he gets to go out gracefully. But whether Larry comes up with the idea or whether Ryan comes up with the idea, it needs to happen.
Yeah, well, you know what else needs to happen, and this is a little bit of breaking news. Do you know what else needs to happen, Michael?
What?
Tony Alford needs fired.
Wow.
Yeah, he needs fired.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what.
I didn't see that one coming. Okay,
no, he needs fired.
What did Tony do?
Well, what did he not do is the better question. Yeah. What is he not doing? He's not recruiting. Jordan Lyle just got predicted to flip to Miami, our running back from St. Thomas Aquinas, literally just while we were on this podcast.
Mm-mm. He did.
That flip? Is disgusting. He's going to flip. He's visiting Miami this weekend. It was put in by Steve Wiltfong, who is probably the all-encompassing best predictor of recruits. How he gets his information, I don't really know. I've heard he just calls coaching staffs and stuff, and eventually they just kind of give him the goods. But regardless, Matt, be that as it may, it's going to happen.
He has been wrong some this year as of late.
He's not wrong on this.
Yeah.
I don't think he's wrong on this, because this has been reported by like some other insiders too. Like it was trending that way. So now we're down to one running back in this class. Travion Henderson. We don't know what's going to happen with Travion Henderson. Evan Pryor is gone. Yeah, Evan Pryor is gone. DeMonte Trayanum is gone. So who does that leave us in the backfield? We might have Travion Henderson. We will have Dallin Hayden. We're going to have James Peoples from Texas. And then what? What do we have after that? Because now if Travion's gone, now you just have Dallin Hayden and James Peoples. Now you're really fucked. You are seriously fucked then.
Yeah,
so now what?
I mean, they're going to have to pull the money out. I mean, they're going to have to figure out how to get, Travion $1.5 million or so to stay, because they need him here to try and bring in 2 more good backs in next class. If they don't get a couple of good backs next class, that room could be in trouble. But if Travion stays, I think they're okay, because they're still going to have, Travion, Hayden, and the young guy Peoples, but that means they got to go get 2 guys.
Well, they needed 2 guys in this class, man.
Well, they did, but it doesn't look like they're going to bring that to the finish line.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, at the end of the day, what do you have? I don't care what you're have committed. What do you have signed that is going to be on your roster? It's like, people keep saying, oh, well, NIL this, NIL that. Well, Brian Hartline doesn't seem to have any problem with NIL recruiting South Florida, so you can't really blame NIL there. What's the deal here? Where is Tony Alford failing as a recruiting, as being a salesman? Because let's be real, when you're a football coach, not only do you need to be a good coach, but you got to be personable and a good salesman. He's failing as a salesman. He's not selling these kids well enough NIL or not, to come to Ohio State. I'm getting sick of people blaming NIL. It's a part of it, but it's not the biggest thing. It's still, can this player go there? Can they be developed? Can they go to the NFL? Ohio State, when is the last time we've had like a running back drafted decently high and go to the NFL? Trey Sermon wasn't drafted all that high. And I think he's a kind of a journeyman in the NFL. We don't have anybody sticking out in the NFL, and that's why we're struggling at that position. Tony Alford's fucking failing.
Jay, when I am, in my work, when I am working on the broker side of things, and I'm just brokering transactions for people, there's times where I get in situations where another broker just has a better rate than me, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like there's just nothing I can do about that point. He just accessed a better rate than I could access for the customer. So I've got to come up with some way to try and persuade that customer why they should still do business with me. And that's a hurdle to overcome. And sometimes I overcome it and sometimes I don't. But I don't have a lot of sympathy for coaches that are having to overcome the hurdle of come play football at Ohio State. I mean, that's one of the top 3 or 4 programs in the country. And it shouldn't be difficult to get 2 quality running backs in the stable for this class. I get it that you can't do anything about this kid, or, I don't know, maybe he's leaving, whatever, but okay, who are you going to flip? And unfortunately it'll probably be nobody, but
nobody, they're not getting anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, I know Sam Williams-Dixon out of Pickerington Central is listed as a running back. He's not a true running back, so I don't count him. He's kind of like a gadget type player. He doesn't have the size to play running back in the Big Ten, so do not tell me him in the comments down below. So skip that. Continuing on.
He's about 190 pounds, isn't he?
He's listed at 190. I don't know what he actually weighs.
So he might be 180.
He might be. I mean, let's actually look and see what he's listed at here. Sam Williams-Dixon. He is listed at. He's actually listed at 200 pounds, so he's probably like 190. That's still like small for Big Ten size.
Yeah, I mean, you'd still have to put on 20 full pounds to be a small Big Ten back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. Another breaking news. I know you just mentioned Julian Fleming and like considering like the program culture being broken by Michigan. And you know what I find not to be culturally good is that he's being predicted to transfer to Penn State. That's a weird one. I understand he's from that area, but damn, man, you're just going back against Ohio State here. He obviously doesn't care that much for Ryan Day anymore.
Well, there's definitely some weird things that are taking place, and I certainly don't think losing the Michigan game has a certain impact on what the overall feeling of the program is right now. And I get that. And that's why I think it's so important to go out and beat Missouri to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit. Because like you said, if we go out and do not play well against Missouri, then that statement, did Michigan break Ohio State program, starts to have a little more validity to it. Right now, I don't think it has validity to it, but as things move forward, we got to get the train going back in the right direction. And it's time to have a big season next year. And it's a very important year for Ryan Day. And there's a whole lot riding on it because, if negative things keep coming, if he can't kind of get Ohio State back in the limelight again here soon, then I think it's do or die for Ryan Day. I really do. I think his window is absolutely closing, and it's time for him to get it back on the right track now, or he's probably not going to be able to do that. Now, I know one of our listeners posted down in the comments, as long as Day is here, it'll be like John Cooper, nothing but a tease. That's what one of our listeners put in the comments a few shows ago. And he might be right. that listener might be right. I don't remember what your handle was, but whichever one of you said that, you might be correct. I mean, that very well could be. Only time will tell. But I think now's the time. If he's going to do it, now's the time to turn that corner, to become the aggressive Ryan Day, who's going to let it all hang out and win or lose, giving it your best shot. He may only be in Columbus another year or two. I think that's how fragile Day's position within the program is right now.
No, he's not getting another 2. I mean, I'd say maybe another 1. Loses to Michigan 4 times in a row, he's fired. I mean, honestly, I would have fired him already. I mean, he's just not a winner on the biggest level.
But here's the thing, Jay. Let's say I don't think he's going to lose to Michigan next year. He gets a Michigan team at home that's losing 40 seniors.
Man, I don't like to hear that argument, man. They'll find a way. Their development there at Michigan's like 10 times what Ohio State is. It doesn't matter. They've won. They'll develop those guys. They will develop those guys, and they'll be still a really good team.
But this is what I'm saying. Let's say Michigan, I think there's a very good chance Michigan takes a step back next year and is somewhere between 7 and 15, probably somewhere in that range.
That's a big step back. You're saying,
yeah, I think they're going to, I think they're going to take a step back. Now, I think that if Harbaugh stays, they could work their way back up there within the next couple years. But I think next year is going to be a step back, maybe a top 10 team, maybe just outside the top 10. But, Day, if he beats Michigan and goes 10-2, and then goes to this playoff and wins the first game and loses the second game and goes 11-3 for the season, is that enough? I mean, is that enough?
Are you asking me, or are we asking them?
I'm asking you.
Hell no, that's not good enough.
Or you think that if he did that exact scenario, beat Michigan, didn't win the Big Ten because he was 10-2 and 2 other teams.
He does beat Michigan. Okay, I was thinking he
beats Michigan, goes to the playoff, wins the first round, moves on to the quarterfinal, and loses the quarterfinal and ends up the season 11-3. Is that fire-worthy, or does Ryan Day get to stay for 2025?
It's very close, but you're probably right. He probably would stay just because he beat Michigan. And don't get me wrong, I value beating Michigan, but Ohio State's ultimate goal is to be competing and winning national championships, and that's still far away from accomplishing that. So, yeah, in my eyes, it's not good enough. But Ohio State,
frankly, Jay, I hate. I used to like it. I used to be like, yeah, that's it. I like it. I've gotten to where I've kind of grown resentful of that idea of competing. Because that's what we always get told by mainstream Ohio State media. Well, how could you? We are competing. We're competing for national championships. We are a program that competes for national championships. Okay, but Oklahoma, there for several years, was competing for national championships. Never at any point did I ever want to be Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And so it's time to win one.
Hell yeah, it is. Yeah, and when I say competing, I mean last season, even though we got blown out by Michigan, we backed into the playoffs and we gave it Georgia everything they wanted. That's competing. In my eyes, that's competing.
No, I agree. I'm just saying I'm over the idea of playing close games against good teams and then not getting it done. It's time to get it done. I know
I know these excuses are weak as fuck, man.
Yeah.
It's always these weak-ass excuses. And they blame the refs. The refs aren't very good. I don't usually like to blame the refs, but the officiating was horrible. So why even mention the officiating at all, you stupid Ohio State dumb fuck writers? These Ohio State writers are so stupid, man. Hey, guys, by the way, I'm not going to point out individual ones. One of these days, I am going to point out some individual writers, not the website, but most of these websites you guys subscribe to on Ohio State forums and stuff, they fucking suck. They're not telling you the truth and misleading you and placing the blame in the wrong direction. So just being real.
So Jay, let's recap here about the program being broken.
All right.
I don't think the program is broken. Like I said, I think the program is got some stress points right now that are going to absolutely have to be addressed. I think there's a lot of positive, there's a lot of talent. I think there needs to be some coaching turnover, some changeover in that. I think it's concerning that we're missing in some areas consistently, continually. And like you said, some of that probably has to do with the coaching staff. So I think there needs to be some changes made. But overall, I am not overly pessimistic about the Ohio State program right now. For some reason, Jay, I am more optimistic about it now than I have been in the entire Ryan Day era. And you know,
how? Why?
Well,
I don't get it.
Because to me, we've reached that point that he kind of has been what I thought he was going to be. And now we're like at that point that either he's going to prove me wrong or he's going to show that he kind of is what I always thought he was. And then we're going to move on and we're going to get a new coach and we're going to get to see what can happen next. So it's like, I feel like either way, I feel excitement again about the Buckeye program, where for much of Ryan Day's time, it's not been an exciting time for me personally as an Ohio State Buckeye fan.
I don't know, man. The recruiting news and the transfer portal news will tell me otherwise behind your excitement. But I mean, I'll try and steal some of your optimism and make me feel a little better. But I couldn't disagree more. But to answer the question, do I think the program is broken? No. But like I'm trying to imagine like a bridge. The bridge is cracking. It's breaking, but it's not broken. Like somehow, like Superman is gonna have to fly in and heat vision on the bridge and weld the pieces back together and like lift it up and stabilize it, and then like do all of that. And I don't know where that's gonna come from, but Deus Ex Machina type thing. But something needs to change immediately to get this program like where it was like back in 2015, like 2014, 2015, when they were running on the highest of cylinders. And the 2016 season on has just been disappointment, man. The end of the Urban Meyer tenure, and then the beginning of Ryan Day has been just nothing but either chokes or failure in big games, man. It's all it is. That's all we know. It's all we see.
I'll say this. The 2016 ending was terrible. To me, I enjoyed the 2017 season. We won the Big Ten. We beat a top 10 USC team in the Cotton Bowl. And I even enjoyed the 2018 season. It was a little weird with it being Urban's last thing, but we were 13-1, beat 3 top 10 teams, and won the Rose Bowl. And so while they weren't the ultimate goal, we did accomplish 2 goals those 2 seasons, and that was to win the Big Ten and to beat Michigan. And I think what's becoming so deflating is it's been 3 seasons now that Ryan Day hasn't accomplished any of the program goals, 0. And I'm not holding him to any other standard other than his own. He said the goal is to beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, and win a national championship.
I think Urban said that, and Ryan just kind of went and just used the same thing. I think Urban
he just stayed with it. Yeah, I mean, what's he going to say? How do you change at that point? Be like, well, it really doesn't matter if we beat Michigan anymore, and as long as we're getting in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, you got to keep that standard, and I mean that's the standard that fans expect, and it hasn't been done in 3 seasons. I mean, just zero goals accomplished in 3 seasons.
Now, it's going to continue to be harder when you have Parker Fleming on staff. Why, I don't know. Larry Johnson, Tony Alford, Justin Fry, who, has swung and missed so many times at offensive tackle. I mean, I know you're trying to hype recruiting and stuff, and I, kind of told you what's been going on, but we're missing on some of the positions we need the most, which is defensive end, offensive tackle, linebacker. We're just not getting those positions. We load up on quarterbacks, receivers, interior offensive linemen, corners we're actually doing great on, but the other positions, it's like we're really top heavy at those, but the other positions, it's like Ohio State's really failing at those spots, and you're only as good as your weakest point, man. That's just the fact of the matter. You got to be If you want to win a national championship, recruit good at every single position. Have big, strong, fast, long athletes at every position. You'll be good. Ohio State doesn't have that. They don't have it at linebacker. They don't have it at, the safety. I mean, like, as of lately in the recruiting classes, they're not getting them. They don't have it at offensive tackle. Defensive end, like, Tui Malau and Jack Sawyer have been disappointments, but like after they leave, who do we have behind them? Nobody. So
yeah, I mean, maybe Kenyatta Jackson can show he's something. Caden Curry, there's a couple guys that might be some decent pieces there, but yeah, there's certainly some question marks.
I see some like quotes. I like Twitter, or not Twitter, X like comments by Kenyatta. Man, he's not very happy. I mean, at least he's indicating he's not very happy with his lack of playing time, man. And I don't blame him. I do not blame him, especially when he was behind two low production players and Jack Sawyer and Tui Malau. Like, I would be pissed off too.
Let's end with this, Jay, since we're talking about that. Because I wanted to bring this up anyhow, so I think it'd be a good way to close it out. Let's look at Chase Young's production versus Tuimoloau. And I know that Chase Young is total top end of the spectrum. I get that, but both of them are 5 stars. I mean, Tuimoloau had a lot of hype around him coming in here. Okay. Chase's freshman year, he had 11 solo tackles, 7 assists for 18 total tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, and 3.5 sacks. His sophomore year, he had 25. He had 25 solo tackles, 9 assists, 34 total tackles with 14.5 tackles for a loss and 10.5 sacks. His junior year, he had 32 solo tackles, 14 assists, 46 tackles, 21 of them for a loss for 16.5 sacks. Now, let's contrast that to Tuimoloau. Tuimoloau's freshman year, he had 7 solo tackles, 10 assists for 17 total tackles, 4.5 of them for a loss, 3.5 sacks. Sophomore year, 16 solo tackles, 12 assists for 28 total tackles, 3.5 sacks. Junior year, 11 solo tackles, 23 assists for 34 total tackles, and 4 sacks.
Jesus Christ. Sorry,
not impressive.
I don't like to say the Lord's name.
Well, I think Jesus would agree that's not impressive production out of the defensive end spot, especially for a guy.
That's fucking pathetic, man. I mean, again, that just adds on to like Larry Johnson, his lack of development. I think Tuimoloau is a talented player. I think he was kind of held back playing in the state of Washington, though. I mean, he's from the Seattle area, and I know they have some good, talented players come out of there at times, but I mean, I don't know, it's kind of rare. So I don't know. Maybe and it's not like he played in like the big schools out there. He played for a private school that wasn't all that big, and they dominated the competition they went against. You look at the competition he went against, it was really bad.
Yeah. So that's that's really all I got for today.
I have another topic, Michael.
Do you?
I do. So something came out on the Big Ten Network, and I know you just mentioned the 2016 season.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that the Big Ten Network is doing a special on the Ohio State-Michigan game from 2016. Are you aware of that?
No.
Do you have any thoughts on that before I tell you what I think?
My thoughts on that are like, who cares? Like, why are we doing a special on the 2016 Ohio State-Michigan game? So that's my thoughts on it. What are yours?
Why is correct. I mean, you are absolutely correct. And I'll elaborate why. Mm-hmm. Number one, neither team turned out to be all that good, and both teams were offensively challenged.
Right.
Like, Michigan had lost a game. Ohio State had lost a game. Like, Michigan lost to Iowa. I think they, got a field goal at the end of one. And Ohio State lost to Penn State. And, both teams, like, supposedly had good defenses and stuff. No. Ohio State had a great defense. I'm mistaken. Yeah. That was the best defense Ohio State has had. That was probably it was the best defense collectively between Ryan Day and Urban Meyer. Let me put it that way. In the Urban Meyer, Ryan Day era, that was the best defense between both. That
Yeah, I'd
defense
love to
was
have I'd
legit.
love to have that defense with a good offense.
Yeah, well, then you're talking about one of the best teams of all time, and that's just
Yeah.
rare to happen, man.
Yeah.
But anywho, number two, both teams lost their bowl games.
Right.
So we're doing a special on two teams that, number one, were already overrated, but two, they didn't accomplish jack shit.
Yeah.
Ohio State got blown out by Clemson,
Mhm.
as we're all aware. One of the worst games in Ohio State history.
Yeah.
31-0. And then Michigan choked versus Florida State. So it's like, this is the problem the Big Ten Network has. They are promoting teams that didn't accomplish anything. Why are we doing specials on teams that didn't do anything on the national scale?
Yeah.
What is the point of doing that, Michael? Do you have any extra thoughts on that?
Totally agree, because I don't, my only extra thoughts are, the way I view that is, I don't get a lot of joy out of that 2016 win, because it was immediately followed by an embarrassing loss to Clemson. I hold Ryan Day to that standard, so I'll hold Urban Meyer to that standard. I don't get that much joy out of the 2020 Clemson win, because it was immediately followed by a thrashing from Alabama. So that's how I feel about that 26 game. I mean, it was a cool game while it went on. It was nice to come back and win. I never thought that team offensively was good. Like I thought that team offensively was like awful to watch. It was hard to watch. I totally agree. I feel similarly about the 2006 Ohio State Michigan
game. I was about to say the same thing, and coincidentally, I was about to say the same thing. They both got blown out in their bowl games. Neither one accomplished anything in the postseason. Why are we celebrating these teams?
Right. Now, I mean, it would be awesome to have a situation with the Ohio State Michigan game with a lot on the line, close game or whatever, and then both teams go on and like make some noise in the playoffs, and like one of them wins it. Like that
hopefully
would be
that's this season. Hopefully that's this season. For both teams.
Yeah, that would be worth having a special on. Two teams that went on and got got beat in their national game. No, I don't really want to relive that.
And people, this is coming from somebody who attended both games. I was at the 2006 Ohio State Michigan game. I was also at the 2016 Ohio State Michigan game, and I think ESPN caught me on camera like for a split second as I was like climbing over the gate to get on the field and celebrate. And that game really still doesn't hold that much to me now. I'm like, oh yeah, well, in retrospect, it really wasn't that big of a game because neither team was all that good. It's just okay, it was just a good win. It's just it is what it is, man. Florida State kind of showed Michigan how slow they were with all the big plays they had. I understand it was played in their backyard, but you got to find a way to win that game, man. And Ohio State getting blown out by Clemson. The Big Ten Network sucks, man. It's a fucking loser network. I'm just going to say that. They've done similar things in the past, though. This isn't the first time I've seen this trash. They did the same thing for 1995 Northwestern. Do you remember that Northwestern team from 1995 that won the Big Ten?
Yeah.
They got lit up by Keyshawn Johnson in the Rose Bowl, and they lost by like 20 points. And that team is fucking celebrated. The same thing happened with 2000 Purdue and Drew Brees. Remember that team?
Right.
Yeah, same thing. They didn't do jack shit out of the Big Ten. Why are they being celebrated? They lost like 3 games. It's like the Big Ten's teams are so bad. They don't have anything they can cling to.
At least Brees did lead a last-minute comeback in the bowl game to win. So, I mean, at least they ended beating a national team. It wasn't
Wait, what are you talking about?
Drew Brees.
His final college game was losing to Washington in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, then it was the year before that he let it go. Okay.
No, that was 2 years ago. They played Kansas State in the Alamo Bowl, right?
I don't remember. I just remember I have this memory of Drew Brees throwing a touchdown pass to win the game late, like right at the end of the fourth quarter. Maybe that was his.
That was against Ohio State in 2000.
No, in the bowl game.
Okay, that must have been Kansas State because the next year they played Georgia, and don't ask me how I know this stuff, but my brain just remembers things like that. But in 1999, Purdue, they had like a big lead in the Outback Bowl against Georgia, and Georgia came back and beat them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like the Big Ten, that's par for the course for the Big Ten, though, man. I know that, like, you don't follow basketball as much. They did the same thing, I think, for like 2012 Michigan basketball, and they lost in the championship game to Louisville. It's like, it's just things like that. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that was a good team, but they weren't national champions. Like, you look at the SEC network, man, they're doing specials on teams that actually won the national championship. And I understand the Big Ten hasn't done much winning. We haven't won a baseball championship since when, Michael? When is the last time the Big Ten won a baseball championship?
Yeah, it
The
doesn't.
60s, I think. I don't know. Actually,
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, there's only been like one Big Ten team go to the College World Series.
Michigan.
Well,
Michigan, you guys fucking choked against, like, who was that? Mississippi State
and Indiana. Indiana went too, so I forgot about them. So there's been two Big Ten teams go to the World Series.
Yeah, and we haven't won a basketball championship since 2000 in Michigan State. So it's like it's been now 23 years.
It's time for the Big Ten to win a championship. And so, I mean, I think closing on that note, like, we can agree that our ideal ending to the season would be for Ohio State to beat an SEC team in Missouri, and for Michigan to go on and win the national championship. I don't think they can do it. I really don't think they can, but that would be my ideal ending to the season, is for the Big Ten to have some juice in the postseason.
Absolutely, man. But again, the Big Ten Network is, it's promoting failure. They're an absolute failure. But I tell you this, here's the good news, our Big Ten friends that are listening to this, Michigan fans. Michael and I have decided that we're going to split up our bowl special preview. So we're going to do a special of all of the Big Ten games and their bowl games. We're going to do a special episode dedicated to just the Rose Bowl of Alabama versus Michigan, or Michigan versus Alabama. And then we're going to do an episode previewing Ohio State, Missouri, of course. We are an Ohio State podcast, but we're a Big Ten podcast second. So
yes, absolutely.
We're excited for it, everyone.
All right. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. I have
nothing left.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back. We'll be back here in a few days. We're out.
All right, everybody. See ya.